evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you out there? Thinker St. James here with you on a Wednesday. Woo, cracking the whip. But I am not the only one here, obviously. As you see on your screen before you, in addition to my much smaller face up in the corner, we've got this absolute Chad, Craig Jones here. And he's made a video that apparently is pretty crazy story. This is about a person that I am aware of. This is actually a story that I've been interested in for quite some time. The shady underbelly of the BJJ scene. And I was actually going to cover this myself, but I am not as ensconced in that world. I'm not as familiar with the inner workings and the more ground level of what is going on in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. But Craig Jones obviously is. And so Craig Jones made this video. This is, again, a subject that is a little bit dark, so this is continuing a theme for today. If you saw earlier today, just a couple hours ago, if that even, new video is out on the channel now about Anthony Smith, and appreciate everybody who's already watched that. If you have not, watch it at some point in the near future. But we're continuing the down vibes. So I'm going to be relying on you guys in chat today to keep the vibes high and help your boy keep the spirits lifted. That being said, Sam is here. What up, Sam? Good to see you always, brother. Appreciate you always being first, Sam. You are the man. John Dong is here. What is good, my dude John Dong? Chase Parton is here. What is up, Mr. Chase Parton? Getting another shout out in the most recent video. Just got here. What's the vibe? Is Craig Jones our hero? I mean, the vibe itself, we have to keep the spirits high, but the vibe is probably not going to be very good with this video. This is a pretty dark subject matter from what I understand. As you can see, inside the dark side of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a killing, abuse, and a social project. I don't know what the social project side of it is, but the first two, not great. So, as I was saying, obviously, Anthony Smith situation video comes out today, already in a kind of a negative headspace with that, I'm sure if anybody watched that. And this certainly not helping the vibe. We've got this and we've got another video also. That's kind of a companion piece to the Anthony Smith video. I'll tell you about that in a little bit from MMA On Point. Should we just stop watching MMA is the title of that one. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a downer, I would say, but hopefully it'll at least be interesting, eye-opening, and of course, as you know about your boy, comedy and tragedy, we must be aware of it all. It does not go away if you turn a blind eye. That has always been the motto. So we're going to get into this in a couple of minutes, give some people time to file in if they are so choosing to. I know it's a little bit late for this one, so thank you guys for being here a little bit later in the evening. But these videos are not super long. I'm glad because, whenever I do one of these video watches, I always ramble. I pause it and I ramble for a long time, and it inflates the run times of these things. So these videos are not super long. This is under 20 minutes, and I believe the other one is as well. So, but is Craig Jones our hero? I mean, hero, maybe more like anti-hero, I guess is what I would think. Maybe, it's like he's certainly not, I wouldn't class him as a hero. He's got his own negative characteristics. He's a fun guy. He reminds me of the Joker, He's kind of one of those guys that is like, he's kind of bouncing all over the place. He's got a very distinct personality, but there's a little bit of a mean streak in there too, I think. Either way, we're going to have to hear what he has to say about this situation here. And I'm not familiar with Rohit Wonder, who is also tagged in this video. So we'll find out all of the information here and more in just a few minutes. But it should be interesting, I hope. Hope you are all doing well. Again, thank you for being here. Hope you had a good day. Today, he had another kind of longer, somewhat stressful day, but we're making progress towards eliminating stressors in our lives. And actually, the thing that I was most happy about, I'll tell you before we get started here, in addition to working a full day, getting the Anthony Smith video out, and being here now, I actually cooked dinner for myself. I know that that does not sound like a major accomplishment. For your boy, I never cook. So it actually was. I was actually pretty proud of myself. I did not take pictures because it was not picture worthy. But it was lasagna strips that were broken into smaller pieces, and then meat sauce. I made meat sauce with some ground beef and tomatoes and tomato sauce. So I was very, very proud of myself. Craig Jones exposing people's business as if he's some lethal killer in hand-to-hand combat, but he's just a jiu-jitsu nerd, kind of based comparatively. Well, I mean, he's exposing other jiu-jitsu nerds, though. So, you know, if one of the other people that he is exposing wants to attack him, they'll just run at him and then immediately pull guard. But that would be an actually, you know, somewhat lethal situation with Craig Jones potentially. You know? You ever seen a street jiu-jitsu fight? It's not like in the gym, bro. It's a different kind of rolling. We roll with no rules out here. We're going to find out. But, you know, as I had said when I started this is a story that I have been aware of. I don't want to give too much away, of course, because we'll get into all the details as he goes through them. But I have been certainly hearing the rumbles about there being a shady underbelly to the BJJ scene. In fact, the one thing I will tip the hand on a little bit here is I would be very surprised if 10th Planet does not make some kind of appearance in this video. Or either that or 10th Planet's getting its own video at some point, from what I understand, because I have heard numerous things about Bravo's operation, and not Bravo himself having anything to do with anything, but people at some of the 10th Planet gyms. So your boy's got his ear to the street often, and often the street word, shout out to Chase, often the street word ain't good. You know, a lot of shady shit going on in the combat sports world, as you well know, but we are here to look at it all and be aware of it all. That's really what it's about. It's about awareness. We're going to get started here in about 3 minutes. Johnny the God is here. Oh, yeah, by the way, I forgot, of course, first of all, W to everybody. Thank you guys for being here so much. Oh, wait. Sorry. Hold on. Now. There we go. All right. Some reason my board was not on. But either way, that's that. So that's number one. First of all, thank you guys for being here. Second of all, new drop on the board. Suck my balls and buy things from me. Yamashow.com. There's your new merch drop. Anyway. Johnny. Sup Thinker, and don't disrespect Jonah Hill's white belt jiu-jitsu like that. Yeah, that actually pissed me off. That's a nice way to roll into all of this. That actually did bother me. Not that Jonah Hill is a fucking dick, okay? Like, I have seen I've watched a lot of, like, you know, I grew up with his movies and those comedies and stuff. So, like, I've been aware of him for a while. He's definitely one of those dudes that is overcompensating for having been the fat guy in the past. He's got a fucking chip on his shoulder, and he's also like a spoiled rich kid. Like, I think his dad was like a lawyer or something in California, and he just, like, you know, stumbled his way into acting basically. But, like, you hear the stuff I watched Superbad recently, and I was watching the like the behind the scenes stuff and the director's commentary and all that. Like, he is a complete fucking dick. He's a douchebag, that guy. So that's number one. Number two, that's not even the issue with him, though. He can do jujitsu. It's funny to me that he wants to claim that he'd be out here wrecking people. Again, not something that I personally care all that much about. Sure, bro, you'd be wrecking people. All good. What bothers me was that second image. The image where they put all of the actors that do jujitsu, or actors, famous people, business people, whatever, they put them all in the one image and was like, who would win, you know, out of these four? And I think it was like Zuckerberg and Elon. Yeah, that's, I think, the four of them. It was Zuckerberg, Elon, Jonah Hill, and then Tom Hardy. And I said, do not ever in your life ever disrespect the GOAT Tom Hardy. The GOAT Tom Hardy, an actual Brazilian Jiu Jitsu practitioner and one who has been doing it since 2011. You know how I know he's been doing it since 2011? Because we reviewed the film Warrior on this channel, and he started when he made that movie. So never disrespect the GOAT Tom Hardy in your memes and think that your boy is not going to be saying something about it on Instagram. Not going to happen. Exactly. Tom Hardy competes in tournaments. He's legitimately good. Plus, he's the dopest motherfucker out of the four of those dweebs. So shout out to the OG GOAT Tom Hardy. I always try to watch his movies and stuff because I want to support what he does because he is the man. But speaking of the man, let's see if Craig Jones is the man. We're going to get started with his video. So, of course, you're going to be watching this with me. So no need to do any kind of clicking or anything. Link is in the description if you want to see it after the fact. But yeah, let's get started with this thing. I will full screen it for you. And of course, this is Inside the Dark Side of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a killing, abuse, and a social project. What is it? Yeah, social project. This is by the B Team and Rohit Wonder. See what it's all about. Let me know if the volume is okay.
When I was first made aware of allegations against yet another famous jiu-jitsu coach, I was expecting a sadly familiar story. What emerged were allegations far more serious, involving the killing of an unarmed man in front of his family.
Oh.
Connections to the murder of a young mother, a case in which police reportedly received a note predicting how she would die. And the use of a social project to abuse children for a period of more than 13 years.
Wow. That's a lot. And to be clear, that is certainly not the stories that I have heard. So this is all new to me. And none of that sounds good. Jesus Christ. I heard about that awful story and the corrupt Brazilian police. Well, we're going to find out together then, brother, because I am not aware of any of this. The stories that I have heard, I mean, they're bad. They are certainly bad, but they might be a little tame in comparison when it comes to this. That's pretty crazy. All of what he just said. We got a ways to go.
And the man facing these allegations is Melky Galvão.
Yes.
There is a city in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. 2 million people, surrounded on all sides by water and trees. His name was Fernando Pontes. He was 25 years old. He had 2 children.
So first of all, I'm not familiar with that guy, but Melky Galvão is somebody that I was aware of. That also, I guess, plays a little bit into this, but I didn't realize that all of that was connected. Wow. All right. This goes farther and wider than I had any awareness of. Carlos, what's up? Didgery Dave, what is good, my dude? Craig Jones is a legend. Craig Jones is a legend, but he also needs to get himself a goddamn microphone and put it closer to his face. He is sitting in a room, but it sounds like he is sitting inside of a warehouse. Hopefully you guys can hear okay. Let me know if the sound is all right, but it sounds okay to me at least. So we'll keep going with it.
What was supposed to be a search and seizure operation ended with the death of a man in his home in front of his own family.
Officers from the Amazonas police force say the man tried to resist.
Why are you afraid of the police?
Because they killed my dad.
Unfortunate to see that, in different countries, some things never change, you know? Police killing innocent people in this country, police killing innocent people in other countries. I mean, I don't know if innocent or otherwise, but I'm just saying that at least that's something that seems to be universal, police corruption, if that's what Johnny was talking about just a second ago. Amazing. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, perhaps.
On the 12th of May, 2011, an elite police unit called the Grupo Ferret arrived at his home in Presidente Figueiredo. A member of the Ministerio Publicio was present, and that person had a camera. The footage that camera captured was aired on national television.
The video of the police action was recorded by members of the public prosecutor's office. It proves the businessman was unarmed when opening the bedroom door and shows that moments after his death, there was no weapon on the bed. Only minutes later does it appear.
They issued a search and
Damn.
seizure, and the guys took advantage because they wanted to kill him. They executed my son.
4 charged, 2 arrested, then nothing. 2 of the officers were promoted. Fernando
Damn! Just like in the United States. See, we're not really that different, are we? That's wild, dude. Unarmed man killed in his home, weapon planted after the fact, and promotion for the officers who did it. I'd say God bless the USA, but that ain't here this time. It's a terrible story. You watched it the other day. Oh, good Lord. We're in for it. How long? We haven't even gotten a minute into this thing yet. 2 minutes in, and already I'm seeing where this is going.
Pontes had a wife. Her name is Ariana. She has worn a mourning bracelet on her wrist since the day he died. She described what happened inside the bathroom she hid in while police officers shot to death her husband.
They pushed him onto the bed and started shooting at him.
Their daughter was also in that bathroom.
Oh,
She later told her mother she regrets she didn't run out to tell him she loved him.
Oh,
She was certain
come
he
on.
could still hear her. His daughter, Diamel, for 15 years, has been publicly asking for someone to be held responsible. And in 2022, 11 years after the murder of Fernando Pontes, one of the officers charged with shooting him was even given a certificate of honor by that very same police force.
Good Lord. Like, every time, I pause and then it go a little farther and it just gets worse and worse. It gets worse and worse. Good Lord. And I would assume that this is going to come back around to BJJ, and that too will be bad. Wow. All right. Sorry. I honestly, partially breaking this up to jump in and give a couple of thoughts, partially breaking it up just to stop the onslaught of terrible. That segment with the daughter really is that's tough, man. That's tough to hear. All right, let's keep moving.
If you're confused as to why nothing happened following the death of Fernando Pontes,
I am.
need to explain a few things about Civil de Amazonas police force. Mario Nunez was the chief of the police force at the time of Fernando Pontes' death. Cesar Nunez was a base-level investigator who sought to become a Delgado, a promotion that would allow him to lead investigations. Cesar failed the Delgado test. His father changed his score results, along with the results of 4 other investigators. This was a massive controversy and led to the resignation of Mario Nunez, the chief of police. I want you to remember that name. But why is this relevant to the death of Fernando Pontes? Because Cesar Nunez, 4 months after becoming a Delgado, commanded the operation that resulted in the death of Fernando Pontes.
Okay.
And people questioned the integrity of this investigation because we were investigating the son of the chief of the police for the entire Amazon, Mario Nunez. The same year Fernando Pontes was killed, 2011, a police investigator in Manaus started a charity for vulnerable children, named after a local student who had died in street violence. He trained them in Jiu Jitsu, he built them into athletes. The program even produced world champions. The Jiu Jitsu world saw this as proof that Jiu Jitsu changes lives, a miracle from the Amazon. His name is Melky Galvão, a civil police investigator from Manaus. Not just any police investigator, he's one of the 2 officers arrested for the murder of Fernando Pontes.
Well, isn't that interesting? Curiouser and curiouser this story gets, of course. Yeah, you'd assume correctly. I'm sure. We're just getting started. Imagine had Connor done a similar style of video for Ollie. True, we could be reacting to that right now. That would be the second half of the stream, would be that video. Still could happen. I mean, Conor's not going to have much to do until International Fight Week 2027, so keep your eyes open on his channel.
Rocky Galvao later admitted that he was the officer to fire first. Records indicate that despite being fully dedicated to his social program that grew into another location thousands of kilometers away from Manaus in the city of Sao Paulo, he remained on police salary.
Oh, so you only work here?
Only here.
You don't fulfill your shifts at the Farah Group anymore?
I will not give any more interviews.
Damn. He got caught. He got caught by the investigative journalist. And he pulled the Fourth Amendment, but y'all don't got that. Damn, that's wild. I only work. I would love to see that whole interview. She was probably leading in with some like softball questions. And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, wait, one more thing. He pulled a Columbo, you know? Hold on. There's just one more thing. What about your salary from the police, though? Not going to answer any more questions. Good day, madam. Good day. Maybe he's just shy. That must be what it is. It has nothing to do with the illegal salary that he's recouping here, that he's taking in. He's just a shy little boy with a gym for troubled youth that apparently bad things happen in. Wow. All right.
If you think this is a story about a police officer who was accused of involvement in a killing, this is sadly just the beginning.
It all started when I was 12 years old. That's when I learned about his project. And the purpose of this project was train his son, right? So he took advantage of the fact that he had a space.
The project was free. That was the point.
We lived in a very precarious situation. Many times I didn't have anything to eat, you know.
These were children from communities where families could not afford the training fee. The project was their only choice.
Yeah, I mean, he said, you know, obeyed him, I would have a great future, that I would be a great champion, I would be able to change my family's history, you know, to be able to help my mother financially.
Investigators described what they believed was happening inside it. Quote, he took advantage of the vulnerability of these children who dreamed of building a career.
Gave us
So a corrupt cop and a PDF file. Wow. I mean, like, take all of the things that'll get you severely injured, if not killed in prison, and just wrap them all into one. Good Lord. This is terrible.
kimonos and registration fees, got sponsorships, all those things. I remember I even went to school. I studied at a private school, right? The same school as his children. He got a scholarship for me.
Then he charged for them.
The day came, right, when I had to pay for all of that. Because he came to me and said it wasn't free, that I would have to pay, and I paid in the worst possible way. I'm making this video for my sister. He abused my sister too. He raped her too. Just like he did to me. In my head, I thought it was just me, you know, living through that hell. But it wasn't. Others were living it too, right?
If you report me, I'll know, because I'm a police officer. One woman says he told her this when she was 12 years old.
Whoa! God damn. Oh my God. Wow. Pulled the bait and switch on him. On children. What a guy. What a guy. That's insane. That is just insane. What pure evil. You know, and that name had come up a couple of times, Melky Galvao, and I didn't know the details. I just kind of heard about him as like, you know, a person to look out for if you were going to go down the rabbit hole. Thank you to Craig Jones for showing us through this carnival of horrors here. These are the Galvao files? Yes, indeed. Absolutely they are. And obviously, as bad as advertised. Oh, that poor woman. All of those poor children. Fuck's sake, dude. Yeah, just like luring underprivileged children into the gym and providing everything for them. And then all of a sudden it's like, by the way, shit ain't free anymore, or never was in the first place. And there's only one way to pay it back. And that is, like she said, the worst way possible. What a fucking scumbag. Good Lord.
She stayed silent for 14 years. The project produced real champions. Melky Galvao's own son, Mika Galvao, is one of the most gifted grapplers in the world. He grew up inside this project. Everything I'm about to describe comes from a video Mika himself chose to publish.
I mean, the idea that, like, that's how you know that that's like the purest of evil right there. How could you possibly be a parent yourself and do that to children? Like, it's like, it's one of those things that I don't think that you could ever, like, as a like sound-minded individual, ever wrap your head around the idea of something that evil, you know? Like, that's just, there's no two ways about it. And like, what I always wonder in situations like that is like, do those people recognize how evil they are, or are they so deep in it that they can't see outside of themselves and recognize it, you know? Because like, it's one thing for like, I mean, the completely different type of circumstances, but like, let's say a separate type of crime or something. Like if a child commits a crime, like there's an underdevelopment of the brain. Maybe they don't necessarily know right from wrong yet. They're still figuring out ethics as a human being at a younger age. But like at that dude's age, and to be a parent as well, and to not have any sort of moral compass that would indicate to you that this is the worst possible thing you could be doing. It's just something that I don't think that, you know, I mean, I guess it's good that we'll never understand that, right? I mean, I guess that's the better way for things to be, but it's just so shocking and obviously tragic, ultimately very tragic. And now, tragic for this young man here, of course. He's saying that this is his son who published a video about this himself. This son now has to live with the knowledge that that's his father. Most sons, if you have a good relationship with your father, like you idolize your father, you know? Your father is like the man that you want to become. You want to do better you want to do better than your father as a progression of your lineage, and then you want to in turn do better for your father and your family as a whole. And to like have that as your father, like it must be such a shame for this gifted grappler here. Oh my goodness. This really is just the worst.
In May of this year, he released it. It was 20 minutes long. He didn't edit out the pauses. He described watching his father hit his sister.
I got a few beatings, but my sister got a lot more, even more.
He described slaps that drew blood. He described a knife and a gun pointed at him at 14 years old.
I was met with a slap. I took the slap, saw that it didn't move much, and then the things that came out of my mouth were, "Oh, you think you're so strong? I don't know what. What? I can shoot you in the head if you want." Obviously, afterwards, there was an apology, but these things stayed. My head, they accumulated. How can someone possibly hide that for so long? How could a person take and mask what they were doing for so long? Because neither my mother nor my sister saw anything. When I went to a competition, when I needed to do something, when I needed to make a decision, I always called my mother. I always talked to my mother. "Mom, what do you think? Mom, I don't know what." And my mother, always with a very strong spirit, a very God-fearing person, a person who always gave me so much affection.
To be clear, at this stage, there is no evidence to suggest that Mika Galvao was involved in any of the alleged criminal conduct attributed to his father. He is a witness to a childhood he did not choose. His partner is Amit Alor, Olympic champion. She released a public statement. She described Melky Galvao's household as a culture of fear, extreme control, and intimidation.
So yeah, I mean, just to interject a thought or two, I suppose. I mean, obviously the culture that extended to these underprivileged children that were not his own was also somewhat present in the home in different ways. I mean, Greg Jones saying that there's no evidence that his son was involved, but I mean, where evidence of abuse of the son, obviously physical abuse in that way, but SA type abuse as well, perhaps, I don't know. I mean, and obviously I hope not, but abuse is abuse in different ways, shapes or form. And obviously the abuse that was going on there still terrifying and tragic in its own right. Like Big Mike. Yeah, be like Big Mike. Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Big Mike. Thank God. Jesus Christ. Thank the Lord. Another thing that I should be thankful for on Thanksgiving. Thankful that, none of this kind of stuff ever went on in the household. Now, of course, there was their own, things, issues, whatever, but nothing to this extreme, thankfully. Reminds me of the Olympic coach, Larry Nassar. Yeah. Larry Nassar. That's another crazy story there. Yeah. You want to see the an interesting breakdown, like one of those like criminal psychology videos? Watch the Larry Nassar interviews with the police when he's trying to explain his way out of what he was doing. It's fascinating in that regard because, obviously he was a pretty intelligent guy. He's a fucking doctor, for Christ's sake. Again, pure evil, man. That's its own type of evil as well. The evil genius, the evil genius that knows how to manipulate. They have the intelligence to operate in plain sight at times. I mean, Nassar certainly did. This guy, I don't know if I'd class him as a genius. I don't know him that well, but the fact that he has a public-facing organization for underprivileged youth, was a police officer, and all of this is going on potentially under the nose of his own wife and daughter, and I mean, the son saw it, but how, it's just one of those crazy, it's so crazy. There's just no two ways to describe it, and like this young lady here, my heart also breaks for all of these people, because this is some real heavy shit right here.
She said she was proud of the women who came forward. In February of this year, a 17-year-old athlete flew to Rome to compete. She was with her team. She was with her coach.
She had been the victim of lewd acts committed by the suspect, Melky. On a trip between some cities there, she fell asleep in the car and, according to her, woke up with his hand under her shirt.
She was 17 years old, in a foreign country, with the man entrusted to protect her.
The young woman's family provided important evidence, including messages and an audio recording. I touched her stomach. I touched it quickly. I thought she was sleeping for about 3 seconds, maybe at most. I deeply regret that. I deeply regret having done that. Totally distressed about sleeping last night because of what I did, right? I think nothing justifies it. Nothing can justify my behavior. I, as a leader, as a guy who is already of a certain age, shouldn't have behaved that way with my daughter. Some of the ways she treated me was different from how a student and a teacher would treat me. She treated me in a way that none of my students ever treated me. This led me to believe that there was something there beyond a simple student-teacher relationship. I promise that if she stays here at least until the World Championship, where she'll receive her belt, I won't even go. I won't touch her. I won't talk to her. I won't mistreat her. In the material, the coach indirectly admits to the incident and attempts to negotiate silence. The coach...
I mean, look, gotta step in there. This dude going through the playbook of all of the most fucking textbook abuser behaviors right there. It wasn't that bad. She was kind of asking for it. She treated me differently than anyone ever did. I thought that it was a legitimate relationship. She's fucking 17, bro. 17 years old. Jesus fucking Christ. And to have the fucking gall again, it's like how I guess that being a police officer, I'm getting fucking like flustered. I can't even get the words and the thoughts correctly out. Being a police officer, I guess, gives you the level of authority there. I don't know how much other authority he commands being the proprietor of the school for the underprivileged. I would assume in Brazil and its Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, probably a lot. But it's like to have the fucking gall to be on recording saying these things and be like, oh yeah, no, but just stay though, because we're going to win. We're going to win the tournament. So just, it's like, this dude should have been fucking arrested immediately. Go to whatever country he is in and get this man. They should have fucking arrested him and extradited him back to Brazil. This is wild shit. To have an audio recording that is being played on, I would assume, the news in Brazil. I mean, like, how the fuck? How the fuck does no... I'm like, this is... I mean, really, man. Like, if there is ever one thing that you should take away from all of this evil shit that we talk about, from all of the evil shit that we cover on this channel, that we end up seeing and hearing in the MMA space, is that if you suspect something is amiss, at the very least you need to clock it. And if it starts, I mean, like you want to, it's tough. It's one of those tough things, because I was going to say, like, you know, if you see something, say something, right? But of course you don't want to be the person that's like accusing people falsely. You don't want to be the person that's crying wolf, that kind of thing. So it's a fine line. But like, what I would say is that if you pick up on things that seem like they're off, log that shit, and if it's a pattern, then you gotta step the fuck in, or at least tell somebody. But that's, who the fuck knows in Brazil, though, because this guy is a cop. What if they went to the cops and ended up dead like the first guy? Which may be where this is coming around to. I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. This is a wild fucking story, and it's like, it really is just another one of those things that makes you keenly aware at how little fucking justice there is in this world and how fucked everything is. Oh, God damn it. God fucking damn it. I'd assume his days are numbered. I was thinking that the way they were talking about him, that he would already have been dead. Like, I can't imagine, like, how he certainly cannot be still operating within the jiu-jitsu space, right? I mean, again, all right, let's just keep going here. We'll find out.
Which claims to have acquaintances who could obtain documents so that their children could be born in the United States. Today, I have an investor, you know, a person with money there, who will even have documentation. And I already told this person that whoever goes there is one of my students.
He gets close to these victims and sells them this dream. From there, he begins to control their behavior.
Hold on a second, just real quick. Is he saying that sounds like a fraud situation of some sort? That maybe a legal gray area? So you're saying that the students would go to the United States and then get citizenship? Like they'd have babies there or something? What? Hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me rewind that real quick. I'm curious what that was. Because he's saying that, like, he's got connections in the United States, like an investor? But for what exactly? Hold on.
Mistreat her. In the material, the coach indirectly admits to the incident and attempts to negotiate silence. The coach claims to have acquaintances who could obtain documents so that their children could be born in the United States.
The coach claims to have documents so that the students' children can be born in the United States? What children? Aren't his students children? Why are the children having children? Melky Galvao? Why are the children having children, Melky?
Today, I have an investor, you know, a person with money there, who will even have documentation. And I already told this person that whoever goes there is one of my students.
He gets close to these victims and sells them this dream. From there, he begins to control their behavior, to dominate them. He starts to exert this manipulation, even placing the responsibility for any potential harm to his team of employees on the shoulders of the victim and her family.
We generate almost 100 jobs. I made sure to leave some records, you know, written, so that you can use them against me as well.
He then made a series of threats against staff, against his own life, that we've chosen not to air in detail. Quote, Next week, there's the Curitiba Open. Just tell me the place. I'll be there. People will think it's a robbery.
The victims who were heard mentioned that he did use his status as a civil police officer to instill fear, and the fact that he possessed a weapon to instill even more fear, to prevent any kind of complaint. We have identified and heard from at least 2 more victims, in addition to other witnesses, who indicate that this seems to be a pattern of his behavior.
April 23rd, 2020.
Oh, dear God. Yeah, so there you have it, really, right? I mean, he's saying that, like, I guess then that was the other thing that they just kind of said there, is that he was using the status, of course, that's obvious, but like that he also, I guess, was threatening to harm himself as well. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out the conclusion of that part of the story. I think he's saying born like they're now in America because we have fraudulent papers saying, oh, like that. Okay. Like false documentation. So yeah, fraud. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Either he's saying that they would be anchor babies, which is, you know, against U.S. statute, at least, you know, to like specifically come over to the United States and have children intentionally so that they gain citizenship just by being over the border. That is not technically legal as far as I know. So it's either that or it's just legitimate fraud. Like I have somebody who will falsely claim that you are an American citizen and were naturally born in the United States and give you paperwork for it. No good can come of any of it. Excuse me. Meat Rocket. Hello. How are you, sir? Touching on human trafficking and potentially a PDF ring. Yeah, yo, Didgeridoo Dave. Yeah, exactly. It's not all about Jiu Jitsu, I would suspect, you know? Meat Rocket says, wait till all the facts come out before you pass judgment.
6. An arrest warrant is issued in Sao Paulo. April 28, 2026. Melky Galvao surrenders in Manaus. He is still drawing a police salary.
What? Do you mean to tell me he's still getting paid after he was already apprehended? Damn, police corruption going all the way to the top in Brazil. I got to hand it to him, you know, the corrupt won there. I mean, here, you know, they won too, but at least we still pretend a little better. But there, it's amazing. Certain administrations I can think of look at this and say, damn, I want to get like that.
Team civil police officers searched properties linked to coach Melk Galvao. At the addresses, agents found cell phones, computers, and even a firearm was seized.
Investigators allege that after 4 days in detention, his brother Anoke got him a cell phone.
This is Melk Galvao. He is threatening a victim to prevent further complaints, including victims to change their testimony.
He wanted that witness to go to Manaus police and say that him and Livia made everything up. In recordings that have since become public, he told this witness, we need something intimate to show the judge she's not an innocent girl.
When an abuser receives a cell phone and help inside a prison to threaten the victim, how can that victim feel comfortable, have the courage to report it, especially since he's a police officer, someone who carries a weapon?
That witness did not comply and is now also listed as a victim.
Good for her. Jesus Christ. This fucking guy going mafioso style, smuggled in cell phones, threatening and intimidating witnesses. This is serious. This is like Whitey Bulger shit. This guy is a real fucking demon. This is like serious demon time shit. I'm just in awe of how amazingly atrocious this human being is. And again, it goes back to my question I asked earlier. It's like, you gotta know that you are the scum of the fucking earth, right? Like, you have to know it. You can't be acting and operating that way and not know that you are fucking evil. Like, dead to rights, no two ways about it evil. That's the only possible conclusion, right?
7, 2026. He is transferred to Sao Paulo, 2,000 kilometers south, a different state, a different prison. away from the network. May 26, 2026, a court orders his continued detention. Reason: interference with witnesses.
He's still at it. This motherfucker. He got moved to a separate prison and he's still out there intimidating witnesses. Fuck you, dude. God damn. This is like a tremendous level of fucking evil. It's like horseshoe theory at some point. At some point it becomes almost impressive how fucking evil he is. Good Lord. Anyway, man.
That same day, his brother, Enoke Galvao, is arrested in Manaus. Enoke Galvao is also a civil police officer. He is charged with the same crimes against two girls from the exact same project.
His fucking brother was in on it! Oh! It's a family affair! I hate this. I hate hearing and seeing this. This is all fucking awful. Aiding and abetting in doing the same thing with your own fucking brother. Evil runs in the family. Should be the name of the fucking movie they make about this. I mean, that is like, what the fuck? How do you even approach that? I don't even want to go down the line of thought of discussing that element of it. How the two of them figured out that each other was, in on the same type of shit. Oh, you too? You're fucking around too? Oh, damn, we really are brothers. God, fucking, and it's like, I am a supporter of the death penalty, but I know that there are a lot of people who aren't. And they have reasons for it that I think make sense. But when you hear shit like this, it is very, very hard to give credence to anyone who doesn't think that a death penalty is a legitimate form of handling certain individuals who are antithetical to societal operation and conducting themselves like civilized, actual human beings as opposed to the vermin that they are. Yeah, birds of a feather. Yeah, I guess so.
9 women have filed police reports. The youngest to make a public statement was only 12 years old when the abuse began.
Man. 12 years old. Come on, man. And it just went on. It just went on. How many other people, if him and his brother both knew, how many other people fucking knew and let it happen? 12 years old, man.
Since then, he's continued messaging me, making me offers that he'd give me a gym and everything, maybe a champion in major competitions and all that. That's why I'm telling you that it's been 14 years of torture. Mental and physical torture, right?
The Sunday before he was...
What a brave woman. Takes a lot of courage to publicly state these things, knowing the protection that he has, and, just to be the face of something so heinous.
Was arrested, he was still liking her photos on Instagram, and she's one of 9. And then again, on June 25th, a second phone was seized from his cell.
He was liking her fucking pictures, dude. I mean, like, again, it's even like those are the kinds of things that make you know that it's like real, true evil shit, Because that's just like taunting at that point. I'm watching you, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. Man, you got to really respect these brave women who came forward to, be the voice of this confrontation. Because how many more are they saving from this exact same behavior, Man, are we almost done with this? Because golly, this is trying on your boy right now.
In a completely different prison, investigators allege that it was again being used for witness interference.
He is a very well-prepared police officer from a physical and tactical point of view. I really fear for my safety, and your excellencies have been telling me to reinforce security for a long time, and I will accept it this time.
His lawyers have since sought house arrest. At the news of this, a victim asked, if he gets house arrest, where do we go? In 2006, a woman walked into a police station. She had a handwritten note and it contained concerns about her husband. She had suffered several threats from this man. These threats were witnessed by their daughter. He said one day he would put a bullet in my head and wouldn't even look back. August 11, 2007, she was shot dead in front of her house and in front of her daughter. The husband she was fearing was Melky Galval.
No justice. No justice in this world, folks. I mean, like, it was the last thing that it could have been, right? I mean, he said, like we want to recap it. He opens the school so that he can abuse children. He abuses his own family. And then it's like, oh, you already are doing amongst the worst things on the planet. Why not do the absolute worst thing that you can do to a person and murder them? Your own wife, it would seem here. In front of their daughter, or her daughter at the very least. This is possibly the worst person. Joe Son is certainly amongst the worst people ever to exist in the combat sports space. And for the longest time, I would have classed him as the worst. Him, probably Phil Baroni after that. Or maybe Phil Baroni top because he actually murdered. Phil Baroni, that fucking one guy out in Russia, the neo-Nazi murderer guy. I forget his name, but he was also an MMA guy from back in the day, like golden era MMA stuff. But it was him, Phil Baroni, Joe Son. I mean, this guy right here might have to be like higher on the list almost than everybody else. Because, I mean, this dude is a history of years and years of this and murder on top of it all. Murdering his own wife in front of her daughter. She went to the police, too. Went to the police to let them know that this was a possibility. And they didn't do shit. Because why would they do shit? They're just the fucking police. Why would they? Oh, my God. This is, wow. I didn't realize that it got this bad. But this is about as bad as it gets.
The man in charge of this murder investigation was Mario Nunez. The same Mario whose son commanded the operation that resulted in the death of Fernando Pontes. To this day, no one has ever been charged in relation to the murder of Sarah Lima de Souza, Melky Galval's first wife and the mother of his only daughter.
So it was his daughter. I mean, how did he get away with that? I guess no one saw it and he's a cop, so it's just okay. Man, this is insane. This is really insane. I heard you mention the death penalty, and some reason a rapper named David didn't. Oh yeah, I'm very well aware of the David situation. Yes, yeah. David didn't get sentenced yet because he has 40 terabytes amounts of evidence on him, and I hope these two people get the death penalty. Yeah. I mean, David's case is gruesome as well, and I would suspect that he's probably. I mean, again, it's like death penalty probably warranted at times, man. you know? And it's like, you can, I think what the argument becomes is it's like, okay, well, where's the barometer? Where's the line? It's like, you know, I feel like it's one of those kinds of things that you don't necessarily, there is no like clear line, but you know when it's appropriate. You know when it's appropriate for it to be implemented. And if what we are watching right here is not a case where it is absolutely warranted, I don't know what is. David probably in that same camp as well. I mean, that's legit psychopathy right there. David is a legitimate psychopath. Hydro, what's up, brother? I think life in prison is worse than the death penalty, and it's on average cheaper, which is why I normally prefer it. I don't think it's more moral. I think the person will suffer more than just dying. Yeah, I have heard that as a counter argument as well. Oh, yeah, hey, no, appreciate you, Hydra. I'm glad that you kind of lucky that you missed most of this shit, but yeah, I have heard what you were saying as like a counter argument to the death penalty. I think that the one thing that I will say as far as the death penalty goes and why I would support it, first of all, I don't know how it could be cheaper, life in prison. I mean, you have to feed inmates for the entirety of their lives. You have to keep the lights on in the prison and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of overhead with prisoners, I would suspect, in some way, shape, or form. But regardless, why I would support the death penalty over life in prison in a general, in certain instances, in certain cases like what we're watching right here, is because the death penalty is an opportunity for the victims and for the families to be able to have complete closure. And you can say, oh, life in prison for that person is its own closure, but it's not definitive. You know what I mean? It's not the same. And that's the only people in a case like this or any of those kinds of circumstances that I care about, are the people who are affected by it. And you know, I guess if they themselves say, maybe that's what it is. Maybe if it's such a dead to right case that it would be warranted to utilize that, then maybe you allow the victims and the families to decide what they would rather have. Because you could say, oh, well, if it's closure to the families, then maybe that's the counter argument to it. But I would think that there is at least some small semblance of justice being served for them if they know for 100% certainty that the person that committed those acts is no longer able to breathe any longer. But again, this is a multifaceted issue, and I'm sure everybody has nuanced takes about it. So, you know, we could debate it all day, and I don't want to do that. But, you know, I'm just saying, just as my own counter argument there. CTE, what's good, brother? On average, it takes over 20 years before someone is executed, that they spent. Well, see, that's a different issue, though. They need to expedite that shit. Yeah, and the appeals process as well. Appeals process I can understand, but I do think that there's like a limit to the appeals process. Maybe you scale that back a little bit. I don't know. Again, we can go down a whole number of different arguments and get into a whole bigger issue with that, so we'll save that for another time. Yeah, and we already know what happens to these kind of people in jail. True. That is its own form of punishment as well, I suppose. I wrote an essay in high school on the death penalty, and it's just too expensive, even if you take the morality stance on it. Well, like I said, there's other ways to accomplish the same end, but we're getting in the weeds. Let's finish this up.
3 months ago, I was introduced to attorney Helen Gambari. She's Brazilian and she's based in Orlando. She represents several of the women involved in these proceedings.
Florida representation. I appreciate it. Central Florida, doing right by victims. I love it. Shout out to this attorney.
Before publishing this video, I asked her to identify anything that should not be published while the criminal case remains before the courts. I'm making this because I believe more people should know the full depth of this story.
Well, yeah, and you know what? To answer your earlier question, Chase, if you're still in the chat, brother, yeah, Craig Jones is a hero. Craig Jones is a hero right now. Legit. Legitimately so. You know, and obviously you can say Craig's got his own, all the stuff I said about him earlier. Yeah, you know, he's got his own personality. There's you know, potentially skeletons in the closet, whatever. But they ain't like this. And what he's doing here is the fucking Lord's work. So shout out to him.
His first instruction hearing is October 20th, 2026. If you're a journalist, please give this the attention it deserves. If you're not, please share this. And let's make enough noise that we can finally get some justice and close this chapter for the victims in the case.
Shit, dude.
I'm a part of the Fair Fight Foundation, and in conjunction with Guardian, we actually do have social programs all around the world. We have 36 schools around the world, and we do what Melky Galvao told people he was doing. We provide jiu-jitsu instruction to give kids self-confidence. Some of them have English lessons. We provide food and water. We truly try to help kids around the world, and I've visited many of these locations. These are some of the most vulnerable children, the most looked past children. When they step on the mat and they learn jiu-jitsu, it might not seem much to people that don't train, but it's the only time in their life where they feel noticed, they develop skills, and can get self-confidence. And to take advantage of that is one of the most sickening, disgusting thoughts I could ever imagine. I should not be celebrated for doing this. I'm merely answering the call from victims and victims' families. You can listen to stories like this and not help. Don't know what to say.
Well, there you have it. Shout out to Craig Jones, man. That is, I mean, really, that, you know, he's right. He's absolutely right. That absolutely is a story that needs to be known. The only question that I did have is, I guess, what the purpose of including that first story about the guy who got killed in the apartment or in the house or whatever, when the police like broke the door down. I guess that was just to connect that officer to the police, like the police organization that was also connected to Galvao, right? Like that initial story was not directly connected to the Galvao stuff, I think. Because I was wondering if that was going to come back around, but it didn't seem to. But either way, yeah, I mean, tremendous work by Craig Jones to bring that to light. And I'm really glad that we watched that, even if it is, you know, very heavy. And I mean, I don't know, man, that's just one of those things that it's hard to hear the details of it. But again, this is exactly why I always try to push myself to cover these kinds of things and to, you know, be aware of these kinds of things, because if it's hard for me to listen to, imagine the immense and tremendous, unfathomable torment and torture that the people who were actually the victims of these monsters endured. I'm saying, oh, it's hard for me to listen to. Who gives a fuck how hard it is for you to hear about it? God, they were the ones that had to fucking live it. And for them, it is very important that this type of story is acknowledged, and that some fucking justice is served in this fucking world. Fucking ever. You know? It's just like, how many fucking times we sit here day after fucking day and just watch injustice everywhere, just rampant. So shout out to Craig Jones and that attorney in Orlando who's doing something to at least try in some small way to right some of the wrongs. There's wrongs in this that will never be righted, of course. But man, yeah, you know, again, to answer the initial question of Chase Parton, is Craig Jones a hero? In this instance, I would say so. So shout out to him. The link to this video is in the description. If you want to share this, you know, go ahead and do that. You know, don't worry about the stream or anything of me. If the original video link is in the description of this live stream, share it around, make more people aware of it. It's the only way. It's the only way that these kinds of situations are rectified is when people are aware and more people speak up and know that it's okay to speak up, and more people protect those that are speaking up. That's a huge part of this. Again, I mean, I'm getting choked up hearing that girl talking about what happened to her and her sister and how brave that woman had to be to put her face to the story. Fuck. It's a proper tearjerker. Yes, I would say so. I would certainly say so, as I felt myself getting a little choked up there. Craig is one of those guys who's actually an amazing person, but just because he's brash, some people hate. I would never say that I ever hated Craig Jones. I always thought that he was kind of like one of those dudes that maybe was a little bit more like shady behind the scenes, but I don't know him well enough to know that. You know what I mean? Like, I really, honestly, that was just a perceptional thing. I really don't know much about him aside from what we know from the MMA side of the world. But again, regardless of any of that, I don't even fucking care. What matters right now in this small instance is what he did here. Also, shout out to him, because that was a very, very well made and well presented documentary there. A little docu video. That was really excellent. Very well told. Very well it constructed in its telling. So, yeah. What a horrible story, and shout out to Craig for exposing these little Epstein creeps, bro. I mean, again, and I would say that, like, yeah, that is maybe in some small, minuscule sliver of a silver lining to any of this, that the exposure of it hopefully will prevent it in the future. But can we really say that with certainty? Can we really say it with certainty? Of course not. And that also really fucking sucks, which is what I said at the end of the Anthony Smith video. Really fucking sucks. All of that really fucking sucks. And just everything. We need to change the laws so Craig can just break every bone in the perpetrator's body with increasingly creative subs before choking with no tap out option. I like it. Death by triangle. Let's go Yama and fuck them sickos for real. Appreciate you, Johnny. Yes. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for sticking it out with me through that. Cause I can imagine, I'm sure that Chase is probably not even here anymore, because I know that stuff like that, he doesn't, he's not trying to hear that kind of stuff. But again, that's why I specifically, it's when I was still writing actively, it's the same thing I said then. When I was rapping, it was the same stuff I would say then. It doesn't go away just because you don't look. It doesn't go away just because you turn a blind eye. The underbelly don't wash away. So we have to bring it to light. And that, I think, is, why it's so important. Oh, you're still here. Thank you, Chase. I'm sorry that you had to sit through that, because I know that kind of stuff upsets you. I'm still upset about it. Should be state funded so everyone can watch for free. True. Most definitely. I mean, it's on, these kinds of things are at least, well, I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I was going to say, like, at least something like this is on YouTube and can be shared for free. It's real heavy shit, and I don't blame them for having a heavy stomach hearing this. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, you know what? That was a roller coaster. We're going to take a deep breath. We're going to recenter, and we're going to watch another potentially disturbing video. No, I'm just kidding. But there's no way that this one can be as disturbing as the last one, surely. This is from MMA On Point. This is called, Should We Just Stop Watching MMA? We were talking about this video in relation to the Anthony Smith video. So this is like almost a bit of a companion piece to the Anthony Smith video. This, I think, is, I have not watched this one either, so I don't know too much about what they're going to be bringing up. But from what I understand, it's in relation to CTE and the ethics of us as fans supporting MMA with the dangers involved. So we'll get into this in just a moment. I know that I've only been on stream for an hour, but I'm going to take a very short break here, just to take a little lap. Just take a little lap. So we're just gonna take a quick break. This is another short one. I'm not going to make it a longer break than it needs to be, but we're going to take a real quick one, and then we're going to come back. Part 2 of the stream, we'll be watching this MMA On Point video. Should we just stop watching MMA? And as you can see, the screen is black. No details about it. So if you've already watched it, don't spoil it in the chat. We're going to take a real quick break. We'll come right back. I'll get to you guys in the chat, and then we'll watch the video. So don't go away. All right. Wrong one. This one. Okay, we're back. I'm so used to the watch along. All right. Splashed a little water on the face. We're good. We're back in it. Headphones going back on. All right. Let me catch up with you guys, and then we'll get started on this video in just a minute here. People like Mackenzie Stiller really make you want to cry for how they've been treated in life. Yes. Shout out to Mackenzie Stiller, man. Mackenzie Stiller is another person. I mean, they went over her story a little bit, but it's not Tuff's fault. Obviously I understand Tuff. There's a short amount of time, whatever, but she's a person I would actually really like to hear her at length. Not just the salacious, terrible details or anything, but just she seemed a lot cooler than I thought. I thought she was kind of a little bit of a kind of like one of those bouncy off the walls kind of crazy people is just sort of what the perception I got. Don't judge a book by its cover. That's shame on me. I get it. I am wrong for that. And I was proven wrong, but hearing her speak and I mean, obviously knowing her backstory, she'd be a very interesting person, I think, just to hear, her story a little more in depth and just, get to know her a little bit more, because that's the unfortunate nature of Tuff. How many times do we need to hear of Xavier Franklin talk? You know what I'm saying? And look, no shade to Xavier. I like Xavier just fine, but we've heard 3 people highly, put to the forefront as far as the characters, quote unquote, of the season. It was Xavier, Gigi, Tina Black to a little extent. Muhammad Ali got an episode and then pops up at times. There's half the fucking season you don't really even get to know these people, but she, I think, would be an interesting one. Can we talk about Jonah Hill to bring the mood up? Fuck that guy. No, I'm just kidding. My girl had to referee a couple of little kids who had beef outside her shop the other night. A lot of shoulder checking before one kid launched a creative takedown and wrestling ensued. Damn. Kids got fucking takedowns. I can appreciate it. Single leg or double? And what did he do after that? Did he advance position? Did the other kid try to enact rubber guard? Did he go for S-mount? This video, his video he posted passing to full mount is so embarrassing. Oh, Jonah Hill? Yeah, no, I posted it on Instagram. And again, it really was just the precursor to say, never, ever bring up Jonah Hill and the GOAT Tom Hardy in the same conversation ever. At least not around me. That's a passionate point that I will make. It's the same way that I get if you ever have the gall to disrespect Gloria Estefan in front of me. Never do that. And I'm not kidding. That is one thing that you do not do. That is a bannable offense in this chat, and I am not kidding about that. This is something that I used to have to tell people when I was making music. Because there was at one point I wanted to sample a Gloria Estefan song, and I said, look, just so everyone's aware, Gloria Estefan, the Queen of Miami, will never be disrespected in my presence. And if she is, I will leave. Because either I'm going to leave or we're going to have a bigger problem than what we have with you just talking. So that's a little side note there. She went out and addressed them saying they're friends and shouldn't be fighting. Plus, she captured it on CCTV. Nice. Well, good. I'm glad that she intervened correctly. Calm, what's good, brother? Yam, are you covering EFC tomorrow? What time is it? What time does it start? Tomorrow's Thursday. I don't know. Chase, are we doing a free for all tomorrow? Oh, by the way, Chase sent a message to our special guest and going to see when we can get that worked out. She was really, really sweet and real. Yes, she was, Mackenzie Stiller. The way she looks and impression she gives is indicative of her upbringing, sadly. And that's what I came to find out after the fact, And that's why I'm like, oh, A, shame on me. B, I'd really like to know her more and support her. And I really hope that she does well in the sport and in her life. It was more like a shoulder throw into a headlock. Couldn't quite see the defense. True. Well, you need to go out there and train him, Didgeridoo Dave. That needs to be the next move. Maybe you could take after Craig Jones and open a school out there teaching these youth and not doing anything that fucking Melky Gaval did. That absolute human paraquat. Jonah Hill learned BJJ to feel like he could beat up people. Who's going to tell, bro? I know, right? Dude, I will annihilate you, okay? I'm Jonah Hill. I'm the fat guy from Superbad. I will annihilate you. Shut up. Shut up, dummy. A, you are the fat kid from Superbad. B, no striking. A, no striking. B, you ain't annihilating anybody with what you do in BJJ. I'm not saying that you can't annihilate someone with BJJ. Surely you can. Just not you, Jonah Hill. Shut up. Bro went to strip mall BJJ and thinks he's a killer now because ain't nobody doing it around him in Hollywood. Anyway. It's in the morning, so yeah, probably not, Calm. Unfortunately, right now with the work schedule and everything, I only have a set number of hours each day that I can actively stream. But I need to do EFC at some point. So if there's a day, maybe one day when I take like a vacation, I'll do it in the morning. I forgot to ask, are you going to do One Samurai 2 this weekend? The answer is maybe. I mean, it starts at 3:30 in the morning, so I don't know yet. Let me see how the rest of the week goes. I'll let you know in the Discord for sure. The worst part is we only got cliff notes. Mackenzie, along with others, are only saying a portion of the situation. True. Yeah, very true. And that's why it'd be good for her to be able to, get her story out there. Maybe I'll reach out to her after Tough is over, I mean, Tough for her is over, of course. But, yeah, maybe at some point I'll try to message her on Instagram, Wouldn't even have her on the free-for-all. Just have her in like an interview. Just be like, look, you come here and just say whatever you want. I'll just listen. Jonah Hill is literally his high school character from Jump Street. I never saw the movie, but I can imagine. And if he is, then he's playing himself. Because again, he is a fucking asshole, Jonah Hill. Always has been. Like, and that's not just me not liking him. Like, he is legitimately like a douche of a guy. You hear him in interviews and outside of his characters in movies, not a nice guy, not a cool guy, not the kind of guy that you would want to have a beer with. Bro should have been fat if he was going to be worried about people calling him fat. Well, see, it's like he went out there and tried to change his image, but got a little typecast and got pissed off about it. Even though he wasn't really even typecast, like he was able to do other stuff. Keep pushing, brother. Keep working. Instead, he just got mad at the world. and is a prick, so I feel no sympathy for him. You'd be more inclined to teach them dance moves and do a flash mob? Okay. I'll allow it. All right, let's get this video started here. This will be our second and final video of the evening. This is Should We Stop Watching MMA by MMA On Point. I will full screen this thing for you. And let's see what they have to say. Do you think that we should just watch, do you think that we should just stop watching MMA yourself before we go into it? Let me know. Should we all just collectively stop? I've kind of like tied a lot of my life to this sport as a fan and commentator. Should we all collectively just walk the other way? Let me know.
Prosecutors allege Smith tried to get his wife into a car while threatening to kill her.
He threatened to kill her again if she did not get in the car.
Smith allegedly reversed the car, trying to hit his wife, then accelerated when she was in front of the vehicle. Witnesses helped her and their children out of the home after Smith went inside. A Sarpy County judge set Smith's bond at $500,000, ordering no contact with his wife.
Everybody's heard of CTE, right?
So, I mean, just real quick recap there. Yes, so you're aware, my own video about the Anthony Smith situation is out on the channel now. If you have not seen it yet, give it a watch. Like it if you enjoy it, if you can enjoy it. But obviously, we are all aware of the situation that they're talking about here. Oops, not that. Hold on. There we go. I'm almost certain their answer to this vid is no, because they do a vid like this every 5 years. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that is what I do. MMA On Point is one of the best MMA channels on YouTube. I certainly do believe that, but I will certainly acknowledge that their content is very, very samey. You know, it's a lot of the same type of stuff over and over again. So that does track, Hydra.
With his wife.
Everybody's heard of CTE, right? You know, the degenerative brain disease that MMA fighters get, and of course all the contact-heavy sports also get? Well, did you know the original name of it? It used to be called dementia pugilistica. If that second word sounds familiar, pugilistica, well, it should, because, you know, pugilist as in boxer. So what does that first word mean then? Well, dementia, if you actually go back to the original meaning, is madness. So if you break that down, what you're talking about with dementia pugilistica, it literally used to be called boxer's madness. And with the recent Anthony Smith situation, it brings to light a pretty intense question. Is what's happening with him what we've recently seen with Dustin Poirier and his situation? By the way, this isn't just them, it can be seen across the board from a lot of different legends over the past. Are we as fans of all this morally culpable? I mean, we literally pay money, we fuel this entire thing for these people to basically develop CTE. Are we responsible? And more specifically, in the case of Anthony Smith, ruining the lives of the people around them.
I mean, this is like one of those like guilty by association type arguments, I would say. Like, I didn't invent MMA. You know what I mean? Like, you and I did not invent this sport. The sport had to have come from somewhere else. I think Dana makes a good point about it, and I think a lot of us make the same point that like this is a base human invention. You know what I mean? This is like humans' baser nature here. It's what we talked about in the Conor McGregor Forever review. When me and Chase were talking about how, you know, if there was no referee, one of you would die. That's because this is a fundamentally human endeavor to fight one another, essentially, to you know, assert dominance, if you want to take it to like the animalistic level, but to compete in that regard. So, I mean, like, this is like a fundamental part of the animal that is human beings. I think I said that exact same thing in the McGregor Forever review. Like, you know, we like to think of ourselves as these higher minded, evolved creatures. We are animals at the end of the day. So, I mean, this is like saying, is it wrong to watch a car crash if you see it happening? Like, I didn't start the car crash. You know what I mean? It wasn't my fault that those two cars crashed. I was just the one looking at it. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a different way to look at it, and we'll hear from the video. People also act like soccer players don't get CTE at a pretty high rate, not just contact sports. True. Yeah. I mean, this is not something that is unique to sports, period. You know, I mean, obviously standard dementia, of course, is secondary, but like, you know, I mean, you can get CTE from a lot of different things from what I understand. Now, of course, repeated blunt force trauma to the head is a way to exacerbate the underlying issues that can make it form. But I mean, it's not just exclusive to combat sports or sports at all, from what I understand. 100% of athletes who get CTE drank water for a large portion of their lives. There you go, right? I mean, and you can also extrapolate the statistics as well into all manner of different interpretations. To be honest, MMA On Point did help me learn about the sport of MMA and understanding the fighters and everything when I was a casual back in 2018 or 2017. Yeah, no, MMA On Point is fantastic. Their history videos are some of the best, you know? And they put it into list form so it's easily digestible. And like they're one of the best channels on YouTube. I have no problem with them. All I said is that, you know, I do acknowledge that like the top 5 ways that this happened, you know, the top 10 times the play. It's like, yeah, I mean, all right, you know, you're basically doing MMA what culture?
We basically just subsidizing CTE? Why the hell did we watch this? And ever since the reports about all this have come out, it's something I gotta be honest, I've really been struggling to answer.
And also, again, like I said in my video, we don't know if CTE played a role in this. Like, you're assuming a lot, is I guess what I would say to that. Like, yeah, I mean, there's a logic there. I'm not saying that it's unfounded or that like it's a wrong method of thinking, but we don't know for sure that that is what it is. Just saying.
Like, it's making me question my entire fandom of the sport. I would suspect it is for a lot of you as well. By the way, we still don't know the full details of Smith's case. I really don't know how he could be innocent here with a $500,000 bail set.
He needs to watch my video. I'll tell you. I'll tell you how it's possible. I mean, just to tip the hand, there's no innocence. There's only levels of understanding and intent that could change the dynamics, just to be clear.
A restraining order that bars him from seeing his wife because he allegedly threatened to kill her, run her over. People claim that they heard gunshots coming from his house. Dude, I have no idea how he could be innocent here, but it is innocent until proven guilty. But the fact is, it all looks really bad. And if convicted, he could be in prison for the rest of his life. We're talking up to 50 years here. I'm personally a huge fan of just waiting until the details out before passing too much judgment though. And I should also be clear that I don't think any of this, if it is true, is absolved by CTE. You don't...
Or specifically linked to it. Potentially. That's all I'm saying. I appreciate that though, because what I wanted to say is that's basically my conclusion as well. We don't know enough to make a firm judgment about what happened because the details are very sparse right now. We only have one version of the story with a counterpoint from his family. It's a lot of unknowns. It's too many unknowns, in my opinion, to be making a firm judgment one way or another. But to say that that is why you should stop watching MMA, it's not going to make MMA go away if you stop watching it. It's like, this is like the fucking vegetarian vegan argument, you know? You can do it for moral reasons if you want to. If you want to stop watching MMA for moral reasons, then go for it. But people are going to still eat chicken, you know? Thinker cooking right now. We're all furries if you think about it. That is not what I meant. MMA On Point is perfect to get your friend into the sport who is slightly interested, but at this point, I'm over them. All right, understood. But I do agree with you on the first part, though. Definitely a great introductory step. Vegan Rocket 69 is pretty good. Tofu Rocket could be better. Sure. But it won't make me stop eating delicious chicken, though. You're a furry CP and with all that fluff on your face. Damn, why does everybody roast Chase? Leave Chase alone! Really, this guy says he's been a hardcore for like 20 years and he's going to stop watching the sport he loves and that gave him his career over fucking... Yeah, well, it's not just over Anthony Smith. Chill out. Obviously, there is a bigger point at play here, Hydra. It's a little bit of a narrow casted net that you're putting out there on that one.
Get a pass for threatening to kill your wife and attack members of your family, but we also can't ignore the very telltale signs of CTE here. Either way, let's get back to this question. Why are we as fans cheering this on if this is what it's creating in people's lives?
We're not cheering on CTE specifically. I mean, it is a very, it's almost a meme in the community. I'm sure you've heard that before. Yeah, fucking give him CTE. That guy, that's a joke. That's gallows humor, I would hope. I mean, there probably are some fucking psychopaths out there that would really believe shit like that. But I want to believe, at least on the whole, the majority of MMA fans are not out there actively rooting for the fighters to get CTE. As much as football, I mean, look, what Junior Seau, right? There's another one too. A couple of football players that have gotten CTE at this point. They made a whole movie about it. Will Smith was in that movie about the doctor who figured out that was a thing. So, I mean, the point is, it's like we love the sport. We don't like the consequences. And again, I would think that if you cared this much, then the conversation should not be about the CTE itself. I mean, it is certainly a part of it, and I'm not trying to minimize that. But there is also an advocacy for a fighters union, which is something that I talk about very often. Representation for fighters, post-career support for fighters, healthcare and health insurance for fighters. Not abolishing the sport or abandoning the sport altogether. What about all the fighters who don't end up getting CTE? What do? They just have to fuck off now because you don't want a sport where it could happen? This is like high school mother pearl clutching at the PTA right now. We shouldn't have a football program because my baby could get CTE. Shut up. Speaking of vegan, it reminds me of Ian Gary, sponsored by animal abusers PETA. Yeah, true that. Definitely, yeah. PETA who kills animals and vegan Gary going out there doing it for the woke points. Darren Till was spot on about that guy, Ian Gary, by the way. He's like a phony lib grifter. Which is usually, they say it's like the guys that do that are like out there doing it to try to get pussy. But like Ian Gary obviously is very, very locked down with what he's got at home. So anyway. I'm not happy about CTE and don't even think about it during a card. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess his point is that that's part of the problem, but we'll let him talk about it. I watch hockey, MMA, and football. I am clearly okay with the consequences enough to watch. Yeah, I mean, well, and again, play devil's advocate. Easy for you to say as the spectator.
I was talking to Oven, our social media manager, about this, and he brought up a really great set of points from Kenny Florian, who wrote about this on his Twitter. Here's what he said, quote, I wonder how many more out-of-cage incidents involving current and former fighters we need to see before we start asking different questions. How many fights are too many? What's long-term brain health worth? He goes on to question the value of money versus the price of your health, family, possibly ending up homeless or in prison. And of course, MMA is not entirely unique in this regard.
Kenny Florian making valid points, I would say. I mean, those are all questions that do, warrant a discussion, I would say. How many fights is too many? That's a very valid question. We talk a lot about fighters who can't hang it up, I mean, I think that there is some legitimacy to that. I literally was talking about that in the Anthony Smith video, saying that now that he's probably never going to be an analyst again, his life essentially ruined. He's probably going to have to fight now, unless his finances were very well taken care of, and I hope that they were. But, barring that, he was still fighting very recently. Talked about that in the video. So, yeah, I mean, I think Kenny Florian does bring up some interesting and valid questions, questions that do deserve a conversation. But again, the clickbait headline of this video, I think, is kind of the thing that it's like, all right, that's a different conversation than you as fans need to stop watching this sport altogether. Maybe CTE wouldn't be as bad if fighters got paid a lot more for better medical treatment. There you go, medical treatment. Yep, I agree. Loving martial arts along with other stuff, NASCAR, for example, your love exceeds what risk you may endure. True. And that goes to the will of the athlete. That's another thing. It's like, abolish MMA. Again, where do those athletes go? What do they end up doing? Chase Parton often makes the point that some people, fighting is the most valid option for them to function, in a manner that is conducive to society, where their strengths can be harnessed for good as opposed to something much more dark and sinister. So, you just turn them out, turn them loose, turn them into what they would have become if they didn't have MMA. Do you want that, Jason the Heart? Is that what you want? Is that what you want, Jason? Good points by Kenny, but that's more of a pay and individual choice issue for me, that the whole sport is corrupt by the issue. Not that the whole sport is corrupt by the issue. Yeah. I mean, this is a sport of the haves and the have-nots. I mean, really, if you look at MMA, at least at the highest level, it operates very similar to a major corporation, like any multinational conglomerate, where you have a corporate structure that is top down, making all of the money. And as you get lower and lower down the rungs, the money gets lower and lower and lower till you get entry-level fighters that are making 12 and 12. So, yeah, is that right? Maybe that's the question.
Well, as we know, had a blockbuster film with Will Smith about this very issue that ended up poignantly talking about how early kids are exposed to brain trauma. There are countless news reports about this exact same topic. Hockey or rugby, of course, have very similar issues. Even soccer's second most common injury is concussions.
Well, concussions account for about 22% of soccer injuries. They're second only to leg injuries. But it's usually not the case that the concussion is caused by headers, as you might expect. Rather, the concussions are caused by player-to-player contact, head-to-head contact, foot-to-head.
The fact is, MMA or combat sports are hardly unique in this regard of creating serious long-term health concerns, specifically as it relates to CTE.
So we should just abolish all sports. Stop watching sports, people. Those things that you like that distract you a little bit from how bad life is and how much everything sucks and doesn't seem to ever get better. Stop enjoying that. Stop finding solace in that. You got to start reading romance novels. To my understanding, CTE is worse taking repeated blows, but not necessarily knockouts. No, but I just look at it as a personal risk reward every fighter takes with their own health. Absolutely it is. I mean, at this point, and I mean, CTE itself doesn't have to be the end all of it. The sport, if you're talking about MMA specifically, this sport is getting punched in the head. That is the sport. Punching people in the head and in turn getting punched in the head. There are all kinds of terrible things that can come from that. That is what you sign up for. I mean, the fighters know this. I'm not saying that as to be like, oh, well, you knew what you were signing up for. But to an extent, it kind of is that. And also, it's more on the fighter side I'm talking about. That would be like if I was a fighter saying, yeah, I did know what I was signing up for. Getting punched in the head and in turn punching people in the head. Fighters and athletes of all types are sacrificing their time and health for money, and it's up to them what's worth, in my opinion. Absolutely. Yeah, of course it is. That's the whole point. Their choice. They are choosing to do it. Again, this sport did not just fall out of thin air, by the way. No sport did. There had to be a collection of people that all said, we want to do this together. I want to fight. I want to fight. I want to build a ring. I want to put a camera in front of it. I want to sell tickets. Like everybody had to collectively make it what it became. Does not happen in a vacuum or, get shaken out of a tree somewhere.
That certainly doesn't excuse it. Obviously, for combat sports, the whole point is for you to attack your opponent and try to win. BJJ is really a mercy in that regard, but strikes are still part of every MMA contest. But there's also another side to this, because your average UFC level fighter hopefully will compete at least 3 times in a year. This is wildly different from just about every other sport that exists. Even most other combat sports have tournaments that happen on a single day, which means you'll match those 3 MMA bouts much faster in other focuses.
I do make that point and acknowledge it. That is something that is unique about combat sports, or at least MMA. The fact that it is, spread out the way that it is, and there are specific risks involved with more frequent sports. They say 82 games a year there for hockey. So, I think that that's an interesting distinction, and I think that there is validity to bringing that up.
What I'm getting at is most of the injuries, especially as it relates to CTE, aren't happening in actual combat. They're happening in training. MMA quite literally doesn't compete often enough to get that many injuries in the actual fight.
That's an interesting point that I never really considered. They did say that Raja Jackson had gotten concussed the day before he did what he did. Are those connected? I would say probably not, but, just something to bring up. But that is an interesting observation there that I had not considered.
Sure, they happen, but most of the worst ones happen in training. Even ACL tears, like massive ones, they're usually happening on failed takedown attempts or whatever it is in training. We saw this with John Jones. We saw this with Cain Velasquez.
We saw this with John Jones. John Jones got injured in training because he tore a pec. What does that have to do with CTE? I guess just that they're taking injuries in training, period. Yeah, I mean, it's, again, another part of the sport. So, yeah, I mean, I hear what he's saying, but, like, I mean, I don't, it really doesn't, it kind of doesn't equate, though, because it's like if it's happening in training and those other sports are playing their actual contact, full contact sport for 82 games a season, then they're going full force out there and they're training. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess just a lot of different strands to this. Abolish novels. People don't know it's printed on paper. That's killing trees. We only have one planet. Abolish novels. It's evil. Nice. Yes. Make a sign. I don't know what you'd make the sign out of, though, but you can make a sign and pick it. Why aren't we looking at Armin like Bo Jackson? Dude's a 2-sport Hall of Famer. Because Bo Jackson wasn't a piece of shit. To my knowledge, the quickest way to get CTE is hard sparring on a consistent basis and taking a lot of shots. Well, that's kind of the point he's making, sure.
All 3 of the ACL tears for Dominic Cruz happened in training. I mean, one of them was a cadaver, but you get the point. And before I get too far into this one, I've always really liked Luke Thomas's analogy on this. Yes, you can do things to mitigate issues, but it still is like smoking cigarettes. You can smoke the lightest cigarettes that are available on the market, but you're still smoking. MMA is the same way. But if you liken light sparring to heavy sparring with light cigarettes and normal cigarettes, well, there's actually a much bigger difference, I think, because it's happening every day. It's not like you're smoking cigarettes 3 times a year. To put it in short, there are 362 other days out of the year versus those 3 days of competition to where things can go really wrong. And it goes even further than this. Many fighters don't even spar in training. Do you guys remember during the pandemic when Max Holloway grew out his hair for the first time and just started gaming a whole lot on Twitch? He said he literally wasn't even sparring for the Volkanovski rematch.
Just don't want to talk, I just want to play video games. Tune into my live on Twitch or something. Maybe you can get a couple questions in there.
Wow, so no sparring, right?
No sparring at all.
And you might say, didn't he lose that fight? Yeah, he technically did, but this is the one that most people thought he actually won. He even dropped Volk multiple times in that fight.
Oh, man, he's down again.
So he's saying that if a lot of fighters don't actually hard spar often, then question mark. I mean, again, if we're talking about, I mean, really what I'm getting out of all of this is what I said in my video. CTE is unpredictable. It is unpredictable who will get it, when they'll get it, and also why they'll get it at this point. We have indicators, repeated head trauma, certainly an indicator, but it's not the end all be all, and everyone is unique and different. So I'm not fully following what the thought process is yet, but maybe he's still getting to the point. John tore his pec because he's on roids. Yeah, I kind of stopped short of saying that, but that is certainly a thought process there. You can only tear your pec if you've done roids or are lifting a fucking car or something. I have heard that. Quickest way to CTE is whatever Nate Diaz did for 20 years. I mean, look at Nick. Look at Nick. Obviously, Nick has other demons, but you compare. Again, I hate to be a broken record, but what I said in the Anthony Smith video, you have you're layering problems on problems. It's who you are as a person, drug and alcohol abuse, post-fighting career, and the potentially CTE and your actual damage that you have taken. Generally, the 4 components that I look at as to the problems that arise and compound with one another. Do you think Darren Elkins has CTE? I mean, he's another good example of a person who would certainly be looked at, that as someone who could be potentially in jeopardy of it. But again, he could be perfectly fine. I guess we should just stop watching sports and get back to reading non-fiction books, and only listening to music on the radio. Exactly. Yes. No, not even that, bro. We need to go back to old-timey radio where we all just sit around the radio and look at the radio. You ever seen pictures of that? A bunch of people, it's like the whole family is sitting around the radio and they're just looking at it. That was a wild time. I'm like, you could just like look at something else. You don't have to look at the source of the sound, but there was nothing else to look at. Literally nothing else was happening at the time. Dude is taking Max saying he didn't spar at face value. I would tend to believe him. I don't know. You don't think so? You think he was lying? Bro plugged his streaming channel. That's all true. I mean, fucking based, bro. God, marketing 101. Max Holloway knows the fucking biz. Drugs plus getting a hit in the head probably makes it a lot worse. Yes, that's as I said.
Again, he did this without sparring. And he is so far from alone you wouldn't believe. GSP, for instance, who many people consider the greatest of all time, has talked about this at length. He doesn't have as an extreme a view of literally no sparring, but he does limit it severely.
It's crazy how many guys I've seen that left their career in the gyms.
Yeah.
Because they spar too hard. You cannot improve like this. Of course, when you're in training camp and your fight is coming up, you need to somehow trying to recreate that environment of discomfort. But when you're outside of that preparation zone, you need to be playful, and that's when you improve, when it's playful, when it's like a game.
And guys,
I mean, yeah, and also I don't necessarily think that I agree with GSP. I don't think that there's necessarily a need to be hard sparring all the time or extremely frequently. I mean, like really if you have the fundamentals and the technique and the knowledge and you're improving the creativity and the awareness, you're sharpening the skills without having to actually like plunge the knife. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why hard sparring would be implemented as much as some people do it. Because I remember talking about Hamzat, saying that, Hamzat, like he stopped doing it, but apparently he was doing 2 gym sessions a day, hard sparring in both sessions. That's insane. Like, and I couldn't imagine that actually improved any more than what he would have been able to improve or where he already had gotten himself to had he not done that. So kind of crazy. Having a good chin is worse in your overall outlook for CTE. And the more that you can take, the more that you probably will take potentially. I think we talk about it a lot, but the Thias having sparring down the right way. Oh, the ties. Jesus Christ. What the fuck? The ties. I don't know if I've ever heard them referred to as the ties before. It's like, the Thai people. Yes. Okay. Got you. Yeah. No, you are right though. Yeah. Then, I mean, we literally were talking about that last Muay Thai. Yeah. Good point. Also, I thought you might have been talking about, like Thayanara or one of those, like, you know, somebody whose name that was. It's like, wait, what? Big Taliesin got CTE. Oh my God.
I'm not trying to say that CTE is entirely avoidable. Joe Rogan definitely speculated his talk about alien sightings and all that stuff had to do with CTE, but GSP has been very careful about this sort of thing and actively looked into it throughout his career. This was him right before he fought Bisping in his final fight.
I saw many doctors during those 4 years to see if I would be concussed, what problem, and the result, the doctor said yesterday, he said most guys they saw in NFL and every day at the end of the career, they're way worse than you. But I know some fighter that I start in UFC with about the same time, and now they're not the same anymore. The thing is mostly the training, the lifestyle, the way you train. Sometimes some guys they spar every day. It's not good to get hit on the head every day.
Actually, Jesse Incamp, if you guys are familiar with his content, has a whole video about this very topic, and he goes into so many different examples.
I think. Well, I mean, okay to all of this, and again, as a content creator myself, I do understand that like the title is evocative, but what does this have to do with us watching MMA? Like. If your point is that fighters should not be hard sparring often in the gym, then sure, I can get behind that. I think that that's a valid point. Why do I have to stop watching the sport? Those 3 times a year you were talking about. Why does that? Where does that part come into play? I think we've strayed from the path here a little bit. But again, I get it.
You don't have to spar anymore.
We don't spar as much, you know.
I don't spar heavy anymore.
I haven't sparred since T-Bow.
Now I don't spar at all. Donald Cerrone was doing that. He wasn't sparring at all. It was just
not a lot of sparring at all.
Most people are sparring the wrong way. Playing reduces cortisol, also known as the stress hormone. It increases dopamine, or the pleasure hormone.
Gotta lower the cortisol levels. Why is cortisol such a talking point now, by the way? I feel like cortisol has been like adopted by like I don't know if it's like the like red pill community or whatever, but like I hear cortisol coming up a lot more nowadays than I ever did before. So if MMA fighters don't fight enough to get CTE in the cage and all the good fighters don't hard spar so they don't get CTE, am I supposed to think that anyone who gets CTE is dumb? I mean, I don't want to believe that that's the thesis here, but I could understand how you came to that conclusion. He's CTE victim blaming. Damn. Does that mean Paddy Pimblett has CTE during hard sparring of bloating himself with Greg's sausage rolls? Somebody commented on that short and told me that Paddy is not doing that anymore. He said, I hope that this is an old clip because Paddy doesn't do that anymore. So Paddy doesn't do that anymore, apparently. We got old information, according to that guy. I don't know if it's true or not. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is what ages you. So looks maxers hating it. There you go. I was going to say, I knew that it was like either red pill or red pill adjacent. And I do feel like there's like a little bit of a bleed over between looks maxing and red pill stuff. It seems anyway. I don't know if it's 100% connected, but there you go. Yeah. Okay. So cortisol coming up because of the looks maxers. Got ya. That now it makes tremendous sense.
Both of these hormones are directly associated with something called neuroplasticity, which is a fancy word for learning.
And this goes way past humans. I mean, just think about the animal kingdom. Have you ever wondered about the value for animals in doing this sort of thing? They aren't just preparing themselves for a fight that they could win or lose. A lot of them are fighting to the death when these encounters happen, or they're hunting prey. To put it another way, playing for an animal is almost like a rehearsal for murder. For the OG
I mean, kind of a hard way to describe it, to be perfectly honest. Also, shout out to Vsauce over here. But what you say, Rehearsing for Murder? Sounds like a band name right there. That's a band that our CTE would listen to. I listen to the new Rehearsing for Murder track. Fucking rips. Hell yeah, heavy as fuck.
YouTube fans out there, I gotta give an old school shout out to Vsauce, where he actually broke this very topic down.
In the wild, play can often lead to a wasting of precious resources, injuries, and hardly comes close to simulating real attacks and life-threatening situations. Physically preparing the body may be less of a priority for play. Instead, the point of play might be preparing the brain.
Also, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember the OG GOAT Vsauce, but shout out to the OG GOAT Vsauce. Hey, Michael here.
To be playful, and that's when you improve, when it's playful, when it's like a game, because you will be more prone to trying new things. Very often I see guys like sparring, they lose a lot of brain cells. It's terrible. It's
Why am I supposed to stop watching MMA? Tell me about the fucking golf shoes. Jesus Christ over here. I need to get that for the fucking board. Oh my God. Yeah, hold please. Yeah, that's a must. That is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, if you're not aware. Tell me about the golf shoes. Vsauce the GOAT. Hell yeah, dude. I was about to say Rehearsing for Murder is definitely a CTE band. Hell yeah, dude. And they would fucking slay, bro. Cookie Monster vocals and everything. Shit goes hard.
It's terrible. I think you guys probably get my point. I'm not saying hard sparring has zero place at any time ever in combat sports, but when you've got literal goats of the sport telling you that hard sparring is usually a bad idea, I think there's probably some legs to that. In the case of somebody like Anthony Smith, who unfortunately lived up to his name a little more often than he should have, you know, Lionheart, the guy literally picked up his teeth off the mat when he fought Glover Teixeira.
That's wild. I forgot about that, but that is a true fact. That is a real thing that happened. You know? And those are the kinds of things that I appreciated Anthony Smith for. Anthony Smith in his patented knees to face down position here. This is how we will remember you, Anthony.
You know, Teixeira's punching him in the face, and he reaches out and handed something to the ref, and the ref put it in his pocket. He was picking up his teeth and giving his teeth to the referee, and the referee was putting them in his pocket. It was crazy. Us sitting on the outside, it was a little tough to watch.
He wanted to fire his team if they would have stopped the fight.
And then you know what's kind of messed up about this Anthony Smith thing? He's like, let me go out on my shield. I want to do this. I want to do this. Eventually it comes back to bite you.
I am disgusted. I am disgusted. There was two 10-8 rounds, and the fifth round would have been a 10-8 round, which would constitute three 10-8 rounds in a row, which has never happened in the history of combat, ever. Because somebody would have got their athlete the hell out of there. That's why.
If you want to sit in my corner, that's my rule. You don't stop the fight. If you stop the fight or you throw the towel in, you can go ahead and walk back to the locker room by yourself, because I'll never stand by you again.
I mean, and you know, we would sit here and say, fucking based. You know what I mean? We would sit here and say, that's what you want to hear out of your fighter, right? Never quit. You know? Chase Parton is somewhere typing about Tom Aspinall right now. But there's a dark side to it, perhaps. Smith will be forever known for all these worst moments of his career. Oh my gosh. Sucks. He'll always be remembered by me for the loss to John Jones and me having to sit in that bar, having that dude yelling at me about picograms. I told that story on an early Yama episode. If you haven't seen it, go back into the early Yama episodes. I told the story about that. That's a real story that happened. I was watching that fight in a bar, and some John Jones fan was there, like taunting me the entire night, just repeatedly going picograms. Which, in hindsight, is very funny, but in the moment was very annoying. The thing is, the fighter should say that, but the coach should override it. That's a good point.
I don't need saved. I think people are a little soft. I think they're a little soft. Maybe I got too much of that warrior spirit, and maybe someday it's going to bite me in the ass.
Damn. Can't believe can't believe he actually said that. Wow, what a clip. That is one thing that you got to give MMA On Point the most credit for, bro. They find clips of old shit that you're like, bro, how did you find that? Like, there was some shit that, like, when I made the Dustin Poirier video that I made, I had not watched theirs. They made a video about Dustin Poirier too, of course. I try to never watch other MMA creators when I'm doing my own stuff. But so, I watched their video after the fact, and I was like, bro, where the fuck did you come up with some of these clips? Jesus Christ. They got some deep research going on over there. Impressive. But that right there, I cannot believe that Anthony Smith really said that, and now we're in the situation that we are in. It's wild. A coach who gets real balls and morals would stop the fight no matter about... All right. I'm not going to be disrespectful to say those things. But yes, I do agree with you on that, but then that coach could be out of a job. Apparently, according to Smith, he might end up getting fired, so... it's maybe Anthony would have said back then that it's not your place to look out for my well-being or any of that kind of stuff. He would have said, you're soft. People are too soft, coach. Coach that's supposed to be looking out for me and concerned about me and the safety of my brain. You're soft.
This is somebody who is notorious for going on for far too long. He fought more than 60 fights in the sport. He fought for almost 20 years as well.
Former UFC fighter Phil Baroni arrested in Mexico for allegedly murdering his girlfriend.
Talked about him earlier in the evening, didn't we? Yeah. Still want the updates from that. Don't have any updates on the Phil Baroni case. Still waiting to hear what the hell is going on with that. That was on Yamo 1, by the way.
Man, that shit scares the shit out of me. Listen, I'm no doctor. I'm no neurologist. I don't know
where you're going, though. I know where you're going.
But it's not an accident that there's some guys out there have some real severe head trauma, and then over the years, they start to change. I was having some work done at my house. Turns out that the guy was a old school boxer from back in the day, and when he showed up, his hands were shaky and his walking was super shaky, and he wasn't that old of a guy, and his voice, he really struggled and stuttered in a job.
I mean, bro, like, Anthony Smith, you should be speaking to yourself here. Did you never listen? But again, we don't know if it was CTE with Anthony Smith right now. We don't know. This whole framework of everything is askew because we don't know. But still, I mean, if there's even a question of it, then good Lord, man. This is some crazy shit to be hearing him saying these things.
It would have taken him typically, 3 hours to do. It took him 9 because of the Parkinson's brought on from the repeated knockouts and headshots as a boxer. He knew what I did, and he just went on and on about how terrible boxing is, and that, you got a beautiful family, man. You got a beautiful home. He's like, you got to get out as soon as you can.
Oh my God. Bro. I mean, this is like the ultimate irony here. Jesus Christ. That is wild to hear him say this stuff under current circumstances. Anthony's smart enough to see and read the signs, but not smart enough to listen to them. Look, when it comes to that, and I know that we're just sitting here talking, but like, we don't know how that goes, man. That is a very unique situation to be in when it's your skin, when it's your mind going. If this is the case, let's hypothetically say that it is the case. It's easy for us on the outside to say that, but it's a lot harder, I would suspect, when it's your brain and, you are losing the ability to control yourself. Like potentially he was. I mean, obviously, like this guy he's talking about, the boxer, losing the ability to control himself physically, maybe Anthony Smith losing the ability to control himself mentally.
So terrified. Like, I can't fucking end up like that. Not that I'm ever afraid of ending up like Phil Baroni. I think that takes a certain type of person.
Jesus, bro. How is this a real clip right now, bro? This has to be AI. How is this real? How is this real that he is saying this right now and we are sitting here knowing what happened? Oh my God.
Not that I'm ever afraid of ending up like Phil Baroni. I think that takes a certain type of person before the head trauma. You know what I mean? You're going to have to pay entry at some point in time. It feels free when you start.
Yeah.
But when you leave, you're going to pay. It's going to cost you.
Again, 50 years is a very real possibility.
That is so wild. That is such a wild clip that they found here for this. And again, you know, he kind of touched on a couple of the things that I had said, you know, the multiple factors, who you are as a person beforehand, you know, your time in the sport, post-fight, you know, all of the CTE potential, all that basically. And again, you know, I mean, really, like in the Smith case, I would be more inclined to believe drugs and alcohol potentially. Not that makes it any better, but just saying. I don't think he should have retired at that exact moment, but maybe let your coaches stop fights. Maybe don't fight outside the UFC. Maybe retire earlier. It's like he did everything wrong. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you those points. Yeah, as I did say, I mean, he literally fought, what, a month, 2 months, 3 months ago? I don't remember when that card in Dominican Republic was, but it wasn't that long ago. It was this year for sure. So, yeah. And again, you know, I'm whatever. I repeat myself over and over, but we just don't know if it's actually this or not. But this is so wild in context.
For Anthony Smith here. Those that compete in this sport should be taking this as a yellow light warning. This is coming for you. Anthony Smith is not alone here at all. And then so to answer the titular question of this video.
Thank God.
I think we just got to look into those that are training smart and getting the results. This is why I've never really been a fan of fighters hanging on for too long in the sport. And people have talked about like legends divisions and all that kind of stuff. There's just a lot more risk than entertainment. And for those that are big fans of freak show fights, maybe you ought to have a second look about attending or paying to watch fighters that we know have taken a lot of damage in their careers. I really do wish the best for Anthony and more importantly his family who have to endure what happened here. If the allegations are really true with all of this, it's pretty hard to forgive. But I think we can also understand that there are some underlying causes of it that need to be addressed. And I really think the UFC or any other MMA organization should look into this and what they can do to try to help with it. At the very least, education about better training methods and...
Yeah, I mean, that for sure. Also, I did want to acknowledge that the title of the video and that wraparound there at the end, that return to point, complete cop-out, by the way. This is clickbait, for sure. This is a clickbait video. And a bait and switch on the actual subject at hand, fully acknowledging. But he is making good points about this. And of course, this is a point I come back to time and time again. The fact that there is no protocol in the UFC to handle this, or like he's saying, at least education. Education should be the fucking barest of minimum. For fuck's sake. I mean, education at the bare minimum for sure. And more support thereafter. And look, we got Jake Paul on the screen right now. This could be, if Jake Paul is not full of shit, which, you know, I know, trust me, saying that out loud, I know that potentially is completely what he is. But I'm saying because he was the first one talking about fighter pay, you know, it was always coming out of his fucking mouth. UFC doesn't pay enough. You should be paying the fighters more, respect the fighters more. And he's talking that same mess over there at MVP and buying PFL. Really, be about your shit, Jake Paul. Be about your shit. Don't talk about it. Be about it. This is your opportunity. You want to really, Jake Paul has a tremendous opportunity in buying PFL. Because he really can right a lot of the wrongs that he himself has already acknowledged. So let's see if you really are about your shit, Jake Paul. Or are you just a fucking grifter? A full of shit grifter. Those are your two options right now. Choose your path. Disney Channel Flow.
That's what I think the PI is really trying to do, and I think that can be a real force for good in this specific issue. But now I'm curious to get your thoughts on this one. What do you guys think? Did this make you question your fandom of the sport? Are you really concerned about the issue? Does it change anything for you? I'm super interested to see what you guys all think. But
yeah, no. No, I think that you did a pretty poor job of actually trying to make an argument for not watching this sport. As I said, I think that this video was poorly presented in its construct. I think that the framework of this video did not really articulate the subject well. The broader conversation, I think, is very valid. And had you titled this video something different, I would certainly say that this is still a very worthwhile discussion and a video of value. Well made and well presented, as it always is on MMA On Point. But did it change my perception of being a fan? No. Did it have much to do with stopping watching MMA as a fan? No. I think that it argued more for reform in sparring, which again, I think is valid. So, that's my thoughts. And I guess that is also where this video will end, it seems. So, you know, shout out to MMA On Point, of course, one of the OG goats of the game when it comes to MMA on YouTube. So, I guess that will be about it for the stream. I'll hang out for a little bit and chat with you guys if there's anything that you want to talk about. But, yeah, I just wanted to watch those two videos. Of course, this video that we just watched is a little bit of a companion to the Anthony Smith video that I just released. So if you have not seen that yet after the stream, go ahead and check that out. Of course, give it a like if you enjoy it. Again, if you can enjoy it. I know it's not exactly an enjoyable subject. And I'm very glad that we watched the Craig Jones video and found out just what an absolute monster Melky Galvao is. So I think that this was a worthwhile endeavor, even if it was a little bit difficult to do. Sometimes the most worthwhile endeavors are the most difficult. And again, sitting here and watching videos, I don't think is exactly the most difficult thing on the planet, even if it is uncomfortable. So I think that we have done the right thing here in our very, very, very limited capacity. I feel like this whole video was him saying, actually, CTE isn't going to be an issue if you're just smart and measured. But at the end, it's like a yellow warning light because it's coming for all fighters. That's a very good point. That is actually a very good point. I mean, I guess that's what the whole thing, though, is that it's a yellow light. So it's like you need to be aware of this and then adjust to it. So I'll at least give him that. Like, if the concept is like more fighters need to be aware that they should be game planning more strategically and a little bit more intelligently, value. I think that tracks. Any spicy picks for this weekend? Apparently Quillen is a spicy pick. I mean, I didn't think it was that spicy. He is the favorite, but Gamrot for plus money, I can see the value there. So Chase Parton picked Gamrot. I picked Quillen Salkilled. So that's a little bit spicy. Chase posted our picks earlier. I don't remember the card off the top of my head, but I can bring it up real quick and see if there's anything else spicy on there that is worth talking about real quick before we wrap this thing up here. Let me see. Go back. Where are the picks? Where are the picks? Of course, when I want to look at something, the page doesn't want to load. Oh, wrong channel. Here we go. Hold on. Hold, please. Hold. So much conversation in the Discord at all times. It's hard to find things. There we go. Let's see. Anything else spicy that I picked? No. I mean, me and Chase picked a lot of the same fighters again, which I know is kind of annoying, but a lot of these do seem like pretty sure locks. We picked differently on Steven Asplin and Guilherme Pat. I remember not being very impressed by Guilherme Pat, so picking Concrete might be your spicier take. But those are really the only two that we really like strongly differed on. So, yeah, I just don't like the title of calling out the sport of MMA or other sports. Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, and again, it's essentially clickbait. I mean, you know, look, I don't want to. I'm not trying to dog MMA On Point, and as a creator, I do understand doing it, but that's what it is. You know, call it like it is. Oh yeah, by the way, right over there, my video coming up in the recommended. So That's what the thumbnail looks like. Second from the top. For me, a spicy pick is picking Louis Sutherland by decision. Nah, not spicy, dude. He's fucking, maybe by decision, but he's fighting like a 42-year-old guy who's from outside the UFC. This is like a gimme fight. Yes, Chase did take Pat. Chase has been hating on Concrete a little bit, man. Chase is not a fan like I am. I don't know what Concrete did to him. I think that Chase looks at Concrete probably similar to me with some other person. I can't think of who it would be. But, you know, a guy that's like good, not great. Maybe like Shara Bullet, I guess, but obviously they're very different. Concrete, one of my goats? Fuck yeah. I love Concrete. Plus, you know, I mean, like, the thing is that, like, Guilherme Pat, like, I just remember him, like, kind of folding in the fight. Like, he won the fight, but, like, he just did not look good in his victory. And I think that Concrete is a volume striker who's going to bring the fight to him for as long as he physically can. So, you know, go with what you know. Chase always hates all the fighters I love except for Van. I mean, look, man, love, hate, whatever, you know, take the passion out of it. Chase is pretty good at predicting fights, though, so you got to give it up to him. But, all right, it is getting a little bit late, and we started this one a little bit late, too, so a little bit of a shorter stream, but I think we accomplished our mission here tonight. This was, I think, a very worthwhile one, so I appreciate you guys hanging out for it. Of course, like the stream, it's the homie thing to do, and when it comes to something like this, you know, I really appreciate it, because these are the what I would consider some of the more important streams, you know. Watch-alongs are fun, and you know, we have a great time doing them, and, you know, it is the sport and all of that. But, like, you know, obviously the things we talked about here today are a little bit more substantive issues than just hanging out and enjoying the sport itself. So, appreciate the support as always. Again, the Anthony Smith video is out on the channel now. More to come this week, I'm sure. New podcast, of course, came out on Monday. Hopefully trying to get a free-for-all together soon. Probably going to have a very, very, very special guest coming up soon on the free-for-all at some point in the near future, so keep an eye out for that. I will let you know when that is finalized. And, yeah, I guess that's about it. So, oh yeah, and TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, go at Yama Show on all of those. It does look like we are good on TikTok now. TikTok has stopped fucking with your boy for the time being, at least. I don't want to speak too loudly, but if you are on TikTok, at Yama Show on TikTok, follow your boy, like the stuff on there. It helps out, and we're doing pretty good on TikTok right now. So appreciate the support on all of those. Yamashow.com, of course. Suck my balls and buy things from me. That's right. New merch drop. But yeah, Yamashow.com for all of your merchandise needs. And yeah, that'll about do it. You're already on TikTok. Yes, Carlos. TikTok, yeah, things seem to be working out. They looked like they were trying to ban your boy for a little while, but everything seems to be okay. So at Yama Show, if you want to follow. I started seeing your TikToks on my For You page. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Love it, dude. Well, thank you very much for liking. I do see you every once in a while on there, Hydra, so thank you for doing that. And more to come. Of course, Carlos working hard over there to get these clips out, and I appreciate you, Carlos. So, yeah, well, I'll catch up with you soon. I'm, you know, either tomorrow, next day, whatever it ends up being. You know, I'll be back sooner than later. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on. Bye.